A lot of major developments coming out of today's hearing on Capitol Hill about the biggest national security threats facing our country. The Director of National Intelligence is issuing this disturbing alarm.
Frankly, the United States is under attack by entities that are using cyber to penetrate virtually every major action that takes place in the United States. From U.S. businesses to the federal government to state and local governments, the United States is threatened by cyber attacks every day.
Director Coats also warns Russia might already be trying to meddle in this year's midterms.
We expect Russia to continue using propaganda, social media, false flag personas, sympathetic spokesmen, and other means to influence to try to build on its wide range of operations and exacerbate social and political fissures in the United States. There should be no doubt that Russia perceived that its past efforts as successful and views the 2018 U.S. midterm elections as a potential target for Russian influence operations.
All right, Dana, so this has been sort of in the works and in the pipeline, people talking about it, what kind of national security threat, ongoing national security threat that the Russians pose, and now specifically looking at a target of the midterm elections in the United States.
Well, that and yes. So this hearing was super interesting. It was about all these different threats. There's a lot of them, but this was the one that really got some attention because we've been talking about this for a long time. You know, Democrats really want to relitigate 2016, and there is not evidence that there was Russian meddling, like in the actual machines that changed the votes. But I don't think there's anyone that's still questioning whether or not they tried to influence through these other means, as Director Coats just mentioned, and the false flags. And it's clear that the government hasn't done enough to try to figure out what we are going to do going forward. And so part of it is that Americans are just going to have to be smart about the information that they consume. And that's okay in a democracy. We can trust the voters to do that. But in the meantime, it's the other threats that are also a problem. Bill Gates also today issued his annual letter to Microsoft employees in which he said something that Greg has said for many years, which is that if you marry up this pretty easy technology with biological agents that you could then put on a drone and you send it into the city, all of these things are emerging, and you don't have to be a superpower in order to wage war now. You could be somebody, just one person in your basement working on it. Okay, Greg, you're familiar with one person in your basement.
Yeah, that is me or Lou Dobbs, depending on what day of the week it is. You took everything I was going to say. I want to make 2 points here. The top security threat is technology married to terror. You don't need 10,000 jihadists anymore. You just need one with know-how. It's not like a nation state, which has everything to lose. An individual who wants to die will take all of you with you because they have nothing to lose. North Korea and Russia, you could call them enemies, but they still want to survive because their goals are on the globe. Jihadist goals are in heaven. So our biggest fear or danger is our own complacency. We have to look at the jihadist threat forever. It's not some geopolitical force. This is a toxic ideology, and we have to deal with it. About the cybersecurity, cyber terror thing, we have to be careful when we keep saying we're under attack. Obviously, Russians are going to spy. North Koreans are going to spy. The Chinese are going to spy. We're going to spy. Everybody spies. We always look at spying as somehow a defensive tool, like we're going to get information. We're going to get information about Russia or the USSR way back when. And then for that, that's how we create our defenses. The problem with hacking is when you say somebody hacks, like North Korea hacks, Russia hacks, we think of it as a nation. We now think it's a nation attacking us. I think that's a bit dangerous. I think we have to look at this the way we looked at normal spying. Hacking is just an adaptation of that spying. It's not a nation on an offensive. It's perhaps a spy on a defensive thing. Still bad, but it's something that we have to put into perspective so we don't mistake a defensive action as an offensive one and launch a war.
Do something.
That's my theory that I stolen from somebody else.
Okay, when you want to get back to us with the attribution, please let us know.
I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody smarter than me.
That's everyone. Okay, Jesse.
Oh, ouch. Man, getting killed today, Gutfeld. I think the Russian cyber threat is real, but at the same time, let's put it into perspective. The Russians spent $100,000 on Facebook ads last election. Hillary Clinton spent tens of millions of dollars on Facebook ads.
There you go.
Her whole campaign spent $1.1 billion in advertising. When you look at outside groups, $1.4 billion in advertising. When you add the mainstream media, propaganda to that. Combine that with Hillary, there was much more anti-Trump propaganda than there was pro-Trump propaganda in the election. So...
And purchased influence.
And it's right.
Yeah.
The biggest influence, I believe, of Russia propaganda in the last election was the dossier. Paid for by Hillary Clinton. It infected the bloodstream of the U.S. government. And now, look what we're talking about still a year later. Also, the DNC claims they were hacked by the Russians, yet they never handed over their server. How seriously do they actually take it? Podesta says he was hacked by the Russians. He ended up giving them his password, which was password. President Obama admitted that he was worried about Russian interference in the election and never said anything about it, actually feels guilty. So I'm friends with the guy that runs the Harvard cybersecurity team, and he just briefed Congress the other day, and he said this: it's like crime. You're never going to fully prevent it. You're going to have to realize some of it's going to happen. But when Russia comes to mess with us, we have to hit them back hard so they pay a price.
All right. Well, good. I hope he's helping you with cybersecurity. Okay, Juan, swivel for me. What's
I don't
going
have
on?
to. I'm just stunned because it looks to me like people are putting on blinders so they don't have to say Russia influenced the 2016 election, and we should know the details of it so we can prevent a recurrence in the future. And what we heard today was that this is an ongoing assault. It is an offensive assault. Recently, in the course of the budget shutdown, there was a hashtag called Schumer Shutdown trending. And it, got lots of attention and amplified then by mainstream media and Democratic politicians who, in the midst of their effort to say we're going to blame this on the Republicans, said, hey, boy, look at how social media is playing. Later it comes out the polls supported the Democrats, but the Russians, the bots, and all their propaganda efforts were pushing hashtag Schumer Shutdown.
Just 0.1%.
Hang on, I let you speak, man. So this goes on every day these days on every political issue in America where public opinion is influenced to the benefit of the Russians. And we cannot sit silent as Americans and say, well, it could be this country or that country. According to our top intelligence officials testifying today, it's Russia, it's Iran, it's China. And if we want to protect our democracy, our fundamentals, we got to get serious.
All right, can I respond to that?
Really? 1 second.
This issue is damaging in that it thrives on team sport politics. For Russia, it's about disrupting our foundation. And the way it disrupts our foundation is by splitting us. So we're expending all this energy quarreling over who did the Russians help, who did the Russians hurt. It's exactly what a global prankster wants. So the solution to this, we have to step back and say there aren't two oppositional sides on this. Both sides, Juan and myself, we should relinquish a bit of this tribal turf and say that, okay, we can agree there is Russian interference. I know there is, and there always will be it. The other thing, but then you have to say there might not be evidence that there was another side to it, that the Trumps didn't do anything. However, I'm
open to the whole investigation.
Okay.
But again, what I'm saying to you is there can be no debate about what took place.
Well, we get it, but everyone knows, and according to the U.S. intelligence community and their reports, that Russia and China are the most sophisticated in terms of the nation-state actors.